your life, you deserve to be more, be more, do more, have more, and give more. And now the Becoming More podcast with Dianna Kokoszka.
Hello and welcome to Becoming More. I am here with Fred Kelley, the broker owner of Fred Kelley Mortgage. Now, Fred is a Texas native with over 20 years of experience in the finance industry. As an entrepreneur, he has carved a niche as a residential luxury lender specialist, helping countless of clients with complex income statements. Now, Fred's mission goes well beyond the transactions. He is dedicated to enhancing communities through consultation, creating, connecting, and collaborating, which I really enjoy, Fred, that you actually bring people in. And his passion for community shines through every project he undertakes. In fact, I met Fred at the Chamber of Commerce for Westlake. Westlake is a great community right here in Texas, and Fred makes certain that that community is well taken care of. Now, when he's not making moves in the mortgage world, well, Fred loves to travel and he cherishes his time with his family and his friends and his 10 godkids. That's interesting. I want to hear more about that. And he holds his faith and his relationships close to his heart, making him not just a successful professional. He is also a devoted family man and a great friend. So let's dive in and learn more about Fred's journey as he becomes more and his insights on mortgage industry, your vision on building a stronger community, because I know you've done that. And so Fred, welcome.
Thank you, Dianna. I appreciate it.
Well, it's been good getting to know you and building a little relationship at this point, yet I'm certain it's going to keep going. So I want to know about the 10 God kids.
We're blessed. My wife and I made a decision several years back to hold off on children for a while, and we put our careers first. And it got to a point where we had the opportunity to have one godchild with her sister, and then from there we had friends that were close, and they said, "Hey, well, how about another godchild?" And then siblings came with that, and before you know it, we had 10. So we were always told a long time ago that when you're asked to be a godfather or a godparents, then it's a blessing, and
Yeah.
you should say yes. And so we've said yes 10 times.
And so now you've got 10 kids
Yeah.
that you're doing all these things for,
Yes.
plus the community.
Yes.
I know at Westlake, they spoke very highly of you and all the things. So very quickly, tell us some of the things that you're involved in the community. And so all of you out there, maybe you might think about this, because volunteer work actually makes us healthier. It makes us stronger. And they say it literally reinforces the heart and the lungs, so we breathe easier and the heart beats faster and easier and loves what it does, right?
Well, I didn't know about the health aspect of it, but I can tell you emotionally, it's very fulfilling. I knew early on when my wife and I relocated to Austin that we wanted to grow our brand, and I didn't want to do it in a normal way that most people would grow their brand by purchasing marketing or getting involved with social media. I really wanted to do it through community involvement, and first thing we did was reach out to the Westlake community and started attending events, and then volunteering for events, and pretty soon I became an ambassador. I just love the Westlake community. They opened up their arms and they welcomed us in a way that I've never experienced in my life, and I'm grateful to the community, and anytime I have an opportunity I get involved. I'm also involved with an organization there in Westlake called the Westlake High School Business Incubator. So I dedicate some time to them as well to mentor children that are learning about business and wanting to grow a business, and they literally learn how to take a business from scratch, all the way to presentation, and they even compete for money. So it's a great organization. I love helping kids discover their hidden talents and putting them into application.
The interesting part to me about all of that is, first of all, high school. For them to learn business and leadership, these are life skills.
Yes.
Life skills that most high schools don't have anything to do with. And sitting on the board of directors with John Maxwell on growing leaders, where we go into high schools and literally help them become better leaders. This is something that I bet just fills your heart, and you've got a passion for it.
Absolutely, and bigger than that, if you ever have a question about the direction this country might be going, regardless of your political affiliation, I think that there's a time in your life where, as an adult, you begin to worry about things that are out there, and you meet these kids, and those worries are completely alleviated, and you know that we're in good hands.
They have a sense about them that they desire to learn a lot more than what we give them credit for a lot of times.
Smart.
And they do want to succeed, and they are smart. How many times do you find, because you collaborate with people, yet have you ever heard of like a business owner that didn't want to listen to the younger generation because they think, oh, they don't have all this wisdom, they haven't been through all of that?
They come with a different set of skills. They understand the world in a way that sometimes is complex to adults.
Yeah.
It's changing so fast. When we think about just the advent of the iPhone, it's in 2006 when we got this smart device in our hands, and a lot of these kids, literally all of them in high school at this point, have never had a life without one. And they're discovering things at a faster pace, they're understanding things at a faster pace, and it behooves us as leaders to listen to the wisdom they want to impart to us, because we can take that and apply it with our wisdom of age, and really create a better future, not only as leaders but for our communities.
You know, it reminds me of Tim Elmore talking with us at our Nashville event, and he said that there was an owner of a paint store. And so Fred, what this gentleman did was he hired this young kid to work in paint. And the kids started doing these TikToks about, you take this color and mix it with this color, and this is what you do. And if you want to put flowers on the wall, this is how you tape your wall. Now he's instructing people and selling paint at the same time. So he goes to the gentleman, the owner, and he says, hey, look at what I've been doing. He has over 1 million views.
Wow.
This kid has a following. And the guy gets upset at him and fires him for doing TikToks while he's supposed to be selling paint. What the guy didn't get is he was selling more paint. Now, the kid went down the street, somebody backed him to start his own paint store. He took over all the business. So sometimes if we don't listen, we're in trouble.
Oh, for sure. And two things I hear there when you tell that story. He was passionate. He had a lot of passion behind what he was doing. And, I think anytime, I went through a time as a leader, especially in the business world when I was in finance, where I was considered to be the manager that was brought in to, either ship them up or ship them out. And I had this reputation as a person that would terminate people, unfortunately. And it wasn't until I ran my own company that I realized that people aren't disposable. If they are failing in their role, it's a direct reflection of my ability to lead them. And I think when you see a kid like that who's expressing passion for his job, and in a way that maybe we won't do it that way, but if he's willing to pick it up and do it that way, then we should be empowering him to do that.
Right, and as long as he's making sales.
Exactly.
I mean, if it was crazy and no sales were being made, I could understand. Yet sometimes, and I know when you're the leader, let's face it, everybody takes pot shots. I mean, everybody thinks they can be a better leader, right? They could do it different, and maybe they could. Yet these young kids, they seem to be they understand becoming more.
That's right.
They want to become more.
Mhm.
Every single day, their passion drives that excellence.
That's right.
And so I know that when you started your mortgage company, you didn't start it to really make a profit, even though that was part of it.
Sure.
You started by serving people and allowed the money to show up. And I truly believe in that. Talk to us about why that's important.
It's important for a lot of reasons. I think for me, the journey started a long time ago. I wasn't always a person who was in it for the community. I wasn't always an individual that had a greater purpose or calling. In fact, I think in the early years of my professional life, I was motivated by money, only money. And
like most of us are.
Right. And to a point where it was my driver that woke me up in the morning. It was my driver that kept me moving every day. And I just had an insatiable appetite for making more and more money. And it got to a point where it really kind of ate at me, and it ate at my ability to lead. It ate at my ability to make good decisions, rational decisions for my company. And it got to a point where, I had to take a step back and really reflect on why I wasn't happy, why I was still feeling, underwhelmed and unfulfilled, in the light of having a business that most people would consider, moderately successful, I think, with some introspection, I realized that I wasn't feeling the heart. I didn't have a greater calling. I didn't have the passion behind what I was doing. And it took a lot of time to really admit that to myself and tell my true story, which was not this Hollywood version that really everybody else was seeing. When you watch these movies that are based on a true story, there's that little snippet that shows up in the beginning, and it says, facts in this story have been, dramatized for your entertainment, right? That was my life, right? People were seeing a dramatic version of my life, but it wasn't the true story. And, I had to be real with myself and really take a reflection on that.
Was that to be real with yourself?
It was very challenging. I think, it was probably one of the most difficult things that I did.
Did you ask yourself certain questions?
Sure.
Sure. Could you share some of those with us?
Yeah, I mean, I had to really look myself in the mirror, and it was literally a looking in the mirror, staring at myself in the mirror and saying that, I wasn't happy with the person that I was. I wasn't happy with the decisions that I'd made. I wasn't happy with where I was in my life emotionally. And I had to really kind of face that and come to terms with the fact that it was self-imposed, but that I had the power to change it. And
isn't that the greatest part? And so once you changed and you put service ahead of money, I'll bet the money showed up better.
You know what? It did. It did, but in a different way. Now it's not. I'm not counting dollars like Scrooge McDuck. I'm seeing opportunities to help others. So, a few years ago, my family lost my mother, and we now have the responsibility of helping to care for my dad. And I do have those 10 godchildren, and we're caring for my wife's parents, my in-laws. And there's the older they get, the more care they're going to need. So I see the ability to make income as a way to improve and enhance their life, and as a way to offer more jobs to people in the community, and as a way to grow my business so that I can continue to serve the community. So it's a different way. I see money in a different way than I saw years ago.
Yeah, they say money is good for the good it can do, and it sounds like generosity is part of your life.
Yeah, I would say so, and not always. I mean, monetary is important. I think that's the part where you can actually help people learn to do things better. I think there's an old a story in the Bible that says, teach people to fish, and don't just give them fish, right? I'm probably getting that all out of context, but that's really that's just really what we're meant to do. I think with income, when wealth is thrust upon you or given to you through hard work or through windfall, I think that the best thing we can do is create an environment for people to thrive.
Exactly. So let's talk a little bit about business and give some ideas of what people can do that are listening to us about how did you start your business from scratch? Because it was just you.
Yeah. Well, first, I had experience in the mortgage industry. I worked for a bank, and I was very fortunate to have a mentor that taught me so much. And not just in terms of how to structure a mortgage, but just the business in general, how to work with people, how to work with realtors, how to work with your closing agents, how to network and build a group of.
So I want to stop you there because you said mentor. If you've got the right mentor, you go a lot of places.
Sure.
Yet a lot of times people say, oh, they're my mentor, yet they're really not helping the people. So what did you look for in that mentor, and why did you stay with them?
My mentor allowed me to be me. He didn't try to change me. And if anything, he just empowered me to use the skills that I had already brought to the table. I'm one of those individuals that if you try to restrain me or contain me, I'm going to fight against the system, and I'm going to find a way to do it my way. And instead of trying to rile me in, he just let me run, and he put guardrails on me and allowed me to make the mistakes that I made through as I was learning and stumbling through the industry. But he really drove me to a lot of success and encouraged me to take on deals. In fact, I would tell people all the time that in my very, very early days, and I was approaching individuals, and they would tell me, can you do a simultaneous closing second with your first? I didn't know what that meant at the time, but I was like, sure. And the only reason why I was so confident is because I knew I had this incredibly knowledgeable person behind me that had my back, and he had so many years of experience that he would help me, get through anything. And great mentor. I owe him a lot. We're still friends today. I make it a point in my career to befriend other really knowledgeable loan officers, because we can't do everything for everybody.
Right.
I want to make sure that if I'm engaging with an individual in a mortgage transaction, that if I certainly can't give them the best solution, that I can refer them to somebody who can.
You know what I like about that is a lot of people see other folks in the same industry as, competition, and you see them as somebody that can help complete whatever the client needs. And I love that about you. What I heard with mentoring is that you want somebody to empower you, someone to educate you, someone to encourage you, and just help push you by putting guardrails up, yet not pushing you in the direction they want to take you.
Right.
Yeah, allowing you to run, you said. So you've got this mentor, and I believe when you drink the water, don't forget who dug the well.
That's right.
So how often do you see him? Has he mentored other people?
Absolutely. And in fact, I just saw him a couple weeks ago. We had coffee. He's a very successful businessman, not just in the mortgage field. He's still in the mortgage field, but he's also a very successful businessman, has other businesses outside of the mortgage world. I saw his partner today, and in fact, we were just talking about some things that we're going to be collaborating on in the future. So more to come with that.
So you still have all this stuff going. Are you mentoring? You're mentoring these young kids in the high school. Any other mortgage lenders that you're mentoring?
I am. There's a few mortgage lenders that I'm mentoring right now. In fact, as we're growing Fred Kelley Mortgage, I'm looking to bring on some talent, and I think what I'm specifically looking for in those individuals is I'm looking for the desire to serve. It's a prerequisite with Fred Kelley Mortgage that these individuals be involved somehow, some way in the community. They have to have a servant's heart. The company that I want to create and that I want to have impact the world is a company that does more than just close transactions. I really think that our ultimate job is to enhance the communities that we have the blessing to draw a living from. And it's a prerequisite for them. So yes, I talk to mortgage loan officers all the time about not only improving themselves from a knowledge perspective, but also encouraging them to reach out, find that thing that wakes them up in the morning and just really drives them, and use their work as a catalyst to get them to get involved with that organization more.
So what drives you? What is the passion that you have? Because I hear it in your voice, and I know community is part of it. Yet when you wake up in the morning, how do you set your goals, or do you have goals for the day?
I do.
Yes.
Everything's about my family. Everything's
Okay.
about my family, my wife, my godkids, my dad, who's near and dear to my heart. You brought up a story about paint earlier, and it's funny because I had a very important impact moment of my life, but I didn't realize how much it impacted me until after I had gone through my self-reflection. And this story came to mind, and it really called me present. And once I realized what I was seeing at that time, I thought to myself, that's what I want, and that's what I'm after every day. And essentially what it was is I was working as a sales trainer in a bank, training bankers how to be good bankers. And one day, or this gentleman used to come into the bank every Friday. He was a painter, and he would come in and he drove this little white Datsun pickup. I'm not sure if you're.
Now, wait, you're inside the bank and you know what kind of car he drives.
Yeah.
That tells me a lot about, your customers.
Yeah, I did. I knew him pretty well, and he would drive up in this little white pickup, and I don't know if your viewers can envision this, but it's that little white two-door Datsun pickup, and it was covered in paint the back of the truck, outside the truck. He would come in his painter suit, had paint all over him, his hands and his hair, and he just walked in every day with the biggest smile on his face, and he would cash his $400 check. It was what he made for the week, and at that time, again, I have to remember I was very money driven. I was like, I would think to myself, how can this man be so happy with cashing this $400 check? And I would always ask him, Mr. Cortez, how's your day going? He says, going great.
Oh,
Said
wow,
he's
he was excited.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna cash this check, I'm gonna go buy a piñata on the way home for my granddaughter, and we're gonna go and we're gonna barbecue this weekend, it's her birthday, and we're gonna have an amazing time. Every Friday he walked in with the biggest smile on his face, and he was so happy. And I remember thinking in the back of the time, I was like, how could this possibly make him happy? Now I know why he was happy.
Why.
He was creating memories with his family, and he was creating moments. And that's what I look to do every day, is just create moments with my family.
Sounds like you want to create moments for your clients as well, though, not just family and your god kids. And even though that's the biggest part of your life, it sounds like your clients become family as well.
I'm close with a lot of my clients. It's hard not to. I think if you care about what you do and you get involved in their story of their life, because this is a life event, even if you're helping somebody with their third home and it's $2 million home, it's a step from somewhere to somewhere. Right. And there's a story behind that. I helped a gentleman who was very successful in business, and he was buying a home in Arkansas, and he was relocating, and the entire thing that was driving him is that home was going to be closer to his grandkids, so that he could be closer to his grandkids. Darn if I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that he closes on time with the best options that I can give him in his mortgage, so that I could get him to his grandkids sooner.
So you actually find out why they're moving.
Absolutely.
Get down to the bottom of it, get into what makes their heart tick, right?
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
That's where the passion comes from. So now I see why your mortgage company has grown so quickly. Yet a lot of people, they get into sales, and let's face it, sales, you gotta have a little competitive edge, right? Sure. You wanna succeed, you wanna move forward. Love to be the top agent or the top in your company, whatever it is.
Sure.
Sometimes that recognition can start driving us to where it's about our ego, not about the gift we've been given, right?
Sure. We talked about, money being a big driver for me in the beginning. In the beginning, revenge was one too. I grew up in a neighborhood where it was a poor neighborhood. There's no other way to put it. We didn't have a lot of money growing up. And it was a violent neighborhood. We grew up in a neighborhood. It was the best my parents could do at the time. And there was a lot of bad people around us. And so you build up an armor when it comes to that. And, not only to protect yourself emotionally, but to protect yourself physically. And I grew up with this kind of smug demeanor that if I was slighted, I'm going to make sure that you understood I was unhappy with you. And in business early on, if I felt I was slighted, I wanted to be successful in spite of you. I wanted to, but those are the wrong drivers in life, and it wasn't until after my introspection and my realization that will never make you happy.
It's interesting because that saying, revenge is the greatest success. I wondered, where did that come from? Absolutely. Is that the driver that you've got to make somebody wrong or whatever it is, instead of forgiveness and just keep moving on?
Forgiveness, that's the way to go, because there's always going to be someone to prove wrong. You're never going to get to that euphoric moment when you're like, okay, I've proven everybody wrong and life is grand. There's always going to be someone to prove wrong. That can never be your driver. At least I found it couldn't be for me. And so, so later on, it wasn't until I really realized that I had to have something, more powerful drawing me forward. And And it's the ability to create these moments in my life with my family, and these abilities to really help my clients in a way that's impactful, delivering this exceptional service that I believe they can't receive anywhere else. But also making sure that in every transaction I do, it's a win-win, that I'm imparting just as much to my client as I'm receiving from them.
That's awesome. Now, let me ask you, Fred, as far as keeping in touch with your clients, you said many of them are friends. How often do you call them, reach out to them, and do you do that by email, by phone calls? Talk to us about how do you keep in touch and build relationships?
We do live in a world where it's become acceptable now to do a lot of email and text, and I will say I'm guilty of that. And in fact, I've been told by several mentors that if I want to take my business to the next level, I got to start picking up that phone and making
And talking to the people.
and making the phone call.
Now, let me ask you though, how many do you find actually answer the phone?
Not many. Yeah.
That's what I'm finding. I call these people and it's like, hello, does anybody pick up their phone anymore? And you text them and they answer right back and
That's
you're
right.
going, you were just by your phone.
Right. And I think it's just the world we live in, now.
We're all
And,
going so fast.
Yeah, and I really do, but I think sometimes just making the effort, to pick up the phone, I think matters. Or even I've been noticing lately, a lot of agents out there are doing the little video clips and they're
Yeah.
texting those people, and I think there's some ways to really let clients know that in an unmanufactured way you're thinking about them.
Isn't that what's important, and not a fake way like, oh, it's that time of month, I gotta call so and so again, because it comes across that way. So finding that joy comes from within.
Sure.
You've got to manufacture your own joy, so to speak. It's a choice. What do you do in the morning or when things start going a little bit sideways to get back into that joy?
This is going to sound preachy, but I pray. I make sure that I put my focus on where it should be, and I everything we have, even the bad moments in life, we have the ability to learn from, and we have to be grateful for all moments that we experience. And so in those moments, I really just try to slow down and just remember to talk to the big man and ask him for advice and the discernment to make good decisions going forward. It's okay to stumble. I think that's the part that a lot of people get caught up on. They start to think like, well, I failed, or how do I come back from this? It's okay to do that because there's a moment to learn in that failure.
What is it about people that they don't want to fail? They don't want to make a mistake. I think perfection is so overrated. In fact, it's almost smothering.
Sure. And we're surrounded by it.
Did you have a problem with perfection at any time?
Every day. I'm one of those individuals that when I get home, my keys go in the exact same place every time. My wallet goes in the exact same place every time. I go through my routine every day, and so I do have a bit of OCD when it comes to that. But you have to give yourself room to make mistakes, and I think that there's a lot of humility in that. There's a lot of humor in that. Sometimes you just,
if you allow it.
For
If
sure.
you allow it, and the
For sure.
humor,
Yeah.
when we look at everybody, I always say God must be laughing all the time.
Oh, okay.
With all the crazy things. And I'm glad that you said that, not that we want to ever put our faith on you. That isn't what this podcast is all about. Yet there is something or someone, no one succeeds alone.
Sure.
And I think when we get into that recognition or into that prestige,
Sure.
where you were talking about, it's about the money and how I'll look and all of those kind of things, that we really forget there's a higher power that's helping us out.
Well, people are calling it all kinds of things nowadays. I think some people call it self-love, they'll call it meditation, they'll call it whatever it is for you. In those moments where you're feeling stressed and you're feeling like the world is derailed, there is nothing wrong with taking a break, stopping, taking a moment to yourself, and just regrouping and just remembering why you're on this path to begin with. What is it that puts you on this path? What are your goals? What are you trying to achieve? That day, that week, that month, that year, just getting yourself back on track, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. And I think it's because we're trying to live this life of many times of obligation. We're surrounded by Instagram and Facebook and TikTok, and people are just putting out these perfect versions of their world, and
it's not real, is it?
it's not real.
I mean,
yeah.
hey, let's stage this picture so it looks like we're having a
Sure.
good time.
Sure, these are perfect, these could be perfect moments in their life, but it's not what their life is like all the time. And I think, if we just take a moment to realize that, and not have a life of obligation to live these imperfect moments, but instead have a life of purpose and intent, I think that people will find a lot of happiness in that.
Yeah, when you really delve into it, every single family out there has some kind of dysfunction.
Sure.
Somewhere, somehow.
Sure.
And we are not going to get through it without our struggles.
That's right.
The struggle brings new life. Struggle makes us grow. So talk to us about maybe that one time that, man, you were really struggling. I mean,
Yeah, I think there's several moments that I can recall right off the top of my head, but I would think most recently, and probably one that will resonate with a lot of people that are listening right now, is through this economy right now. I think that I was just talking to my mentor's partner today, and he was talking about, he's in real estate as well, and he was mentioning how things have slowed down, and I think for a lot of us, even as us successful people in the industry, it's slowed down. I mean, if you take your average high performer in the market, their business has slowed down by about 40 or 60%. I mean, imagine 40 or 60% of your business. Yeah, we have to do a lot more to get by, and it's because of this economy. And so I think that in itself is a bit of a struggle, but if you can either sit and you can wring your hands and you can think about all the things that you're not doing, or you can realize that it's an opportunity to grow in other ways. I've been a lot more involved in my community and other organizations than I had been in the past, and I've been able to grow my company in different ways that I hadn't been able to or had the time to do in the past. I've had a lot more attention to give to my family and my wife, and moments with them, and I wouldn't trade that for anything. There isn't 100 mortgages out there that I would take over those.
So what I hear you saying is that being grateful for what's happening, regardless of where you are in your life, be grateful in all things, right? And then getting out there in the community, getting to know the people. It's a contact sport.
It is.
Let's face it.
It
And a
is.
lot of people want to do well without a contact.
Absolutely.
They want people to come to them.
Right.
Now that's back to ego and recognition, isn't it?
Yeah, it can be. I think it depends on how you look at it. The name of my company, for instance, let's take that for example. Fred Kelley Mortgage. Someone could look at that and say, well, this guy's got an ego. I look at it as transparency. I look at it as unassailability, because you aren't going to run into, if I were to name my company Apex Mortgage, you're not going to run into Apex Mortgage at HEB. You're going to run into Fred Kelley at HEB. You're going to run into Fred Kelley at an event. You're going to run into Fred Kelley, out at a concert, and so I have to stand by my work, because my name is my work.
It's your reputation.
It's everything.
It's your character.
That's
My niece, cousin, I had to stop and think for a minute. Absolutely brilliant businesswoman. And I remember when I was starting my own real estate company way back when, and thinking about what should I call it? And she goes, you call it your name.
Mm.
People want to know transparency.
Sure.
They want to know somebody that they can literally call up and scream at if they need
Sure.
to. Yet she said, you will do more by taking responsibility and having your name, your character, your reputation be what drives the company versus anything else you can do. And I found that to be very true.
Absolutely.
Because every sign that went up that said the Kokoszka Group, we wanted to make certain that that meant a certain thing to anybody that looked at that sign.
Absolutely, and that's coming from somebody who's had an incredible career in real estate, and I continue to run into people from Keller Williams, and
Right.
and I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say their name on here, but and
I know a lot of them.
Yeah, they gush about you.
Well, it's not about me. It's about the gift that God gave me and the people being able to do what you did.
Yeah.
It's always about the people, and you may be upset at them. It's kind of like your kids, your God kids. You love them. That doesn't mean you always give them their way.
Yeah. I've had clients that definitely we'll test your patience. But I'm grateful for them too, because they've allowed me to grow and learn in another way too.
Okay, I've got to find out, when somebody's testing your patience, now you said you prayed earlier,
Sure.
is there anything else that you can do?
Yeah, you can just maybe drink a nice stiff glass of whiskey and get through it.
Now, that's the honesty
Yeah.
coming out, that's
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
You know, it's interesting, I had a lady call me the other day who was really into fear about
Mhm.
something that was happening, and we all get there.
Yeah.
Change is fearful many times, and literally it was about, okay, I'll either pray with you, I'll help you breathe, and there were times she'd just call and I'd go, okay, let's do the breathing. In 2, 3, 4, hold it 2, 3, 4, out 2, 3, 4, hold it 2, 3, 4. I mean, and she goes, okay, I feel good, I'm ready to go again. You know, we all have those little techniques.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to help each other
Sure.
with those.
I box, and I try to box at least 4 to 5 times a week, and that is
Now,
a
with somebody or just with the,
little bit of both.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I train in the gym, and then we do some sparring and things, and it really is a fantastic way to relieve stress. It's also, I have found, at least for me, a fantastic way to train the mind, because in boxing, it's a beautiful science that you are constantly learning to defend and attack at the same time, and there's a lot of technique behind it, and really you can apply most of what you learn in that sport to business. You're either defending or attacking or growing, at any point in time, and so it gives you a
and you gotta
tactical
keep
mindset.
moving.
You have to always
Yeah.
keep moving.
You know what I loved about that, and it's funny because back in Denver, I had a trainer and I put on the boxing gloves and I had the bag and I had the ball where you learned how to, and that was challenging.
Sure.
So it didn't come back and hit me in the face.
Yeah.
Did that ever happen to you?
No.
Okay, well, good, you're better. I was
Yeah.
going like this, and sometimes it'd come back. It is like business though.
It is.
You keep moving.
That's right.
Sometimes you're on the offense, sometimes you're on the defense. Offense is a lot better.
Sometimes you're gonna get beat up.
Yeah.
But it's never in a way or in a manner that has malice behind it. It's an opportunity to learn. Even in the times that you get hit, it's an opportunity to learn.
Boy, and have we all been hit or learned
Yeah.
from time to time. It is about, in the book that I wrote, I have an adaptive learning model, and you learn, you implement, you fail, you relearn a new way. And so you've done that all the time. When did you start the Fred Kelley Mortgage Company?
So Fred Kelley Mortgage started just the beginning of this year, so 2024.
Oh, wow, you are just starting out, and you're doing so well.
Yeah, we're blessed and we're fortunate. Again, I've been in mortgage a long time, and in the mortgage industry, it's a little different than most industries. Especially with the group that I was with before. I was what you would call a hunter. So I went out and I procured all my business. Didn't walk in the door, wasn't given to me. Nobody handed me a book and said, here you go. I had to go and create the business. So I essentially was creating a book of business. And so it was a matter of just transferring that book over from one brokerage to my own brokerage. And so while we didn't skip a beat, in terms of generating and creating business, we did create the new brand, which is, Fred Kelley Mortgage, and really the environment that we've tried, to create, and the business model that we've created, which is, we feel it's strong in the sense that we're providing tools to borrowers, we're providing tools to realtors. We're helping realtors manage their book through a CRM platform. There's a lot of things that we're doing that other brokerages aren't doing.
Well, I noticed that when I spoke at the Chamber of Commerce at Westlake, and there were many realtors there. And you were talking to all of them. They knew who you were. The people there were talking about your leadership. Important is it for us to study leadership and really apply being a great leader, the characteristics of a great leader into our lives.
I have a great teacher that I see every day, which is my wife. I always say that if there's anybody that's better at it than me, it's her. She is just fantastic when it comes to bringing out the skills in people. And I'll tell you that being a leader isn't just about being the head of an organization or having people, subordinates that you can depart wisdom to or you can transfer skills to. Being a leader is about how you carry yourself through the community. And I think it's our responsibility as business people, business professionals, to go out into our community and to conduct ourselves in a manner that is indicative of what we would want a role model leader to do.
You know, it's interesting because as a leader, you just want the very best for the people.
Sure.
And sometimes that's a good swift kick, you know,
Yeah.
to get them going. And sometimes it's a pat on the back and sometimes it's a hug. And I always say leadership is deceptively simple and endlessly complicated.
That's right.
Because you really have to think about everything. And so with becoming more, what's your parting words for us in making our businesses better, our lives better, our health better?
Sure. I would say with becoming more, it starts with you. You have to
Right.
first decide what your more is. Your more might be growing your family. Your more might be being a better husband. Your more might be being a better sibling you just find your more. I think that's the first thing. You have to have the courage to look yourself in the mirror and really tell your true story and find out what that more is. And then I would say, set yourself a plan, set yourself a goal, study.
Mhm.
It's not easy to become more. You have to be very strategic and specific
Mhm.
in your intentions to become better. It doesn't just happen for anybody. And so I would say, read the book. I would say, study, listen to podcasts, listen to these podcasts, find the piece that resonates with you and implement it in your life.
I agree. Gosh, thank you for all that you've shared with us, Fred. Now, all of the listeners out there, you're going to want to get in touch with Fred, especially if you're in Texas and you need a great mortgage person. So tell us how we contact you.
I always, my business card has my personal number on it. So I would say, give me a call, send me an email. You can reach me at fred@fredkelleymortgage.com. Really simple.
Kelley is Kelley.
EY.
EY.
Yeah,
Yes.
or you can contact me directly. My website has my personal number on it. Feel free to give me a call. Really, nobody has ever abused it. And, I'm asked that from time to time. It's like, has anybody ever abused? No. People have always been very respectful, but you're more than welcome to reach out at any time and I'll take your call and we'll schedule some time to chat.
And it sounds like you are there to help them and their client
Absolutely.
find the very best. Even if you don't offer the mortgage that they need,
Yeah.
you'll find somebody.
Sometimes it's not with me and that's okay. We'll get you to somebody who
Right.
can help.
So see, Fred has helped us become more in so many ways. I trust that this podcast has helped you. Join us again next week where you too will become more.
In your life, you deserve to be more, do more, have more, and give more. And now the Becoming More podcast with Dianna Kokoszka.